basically what I've done is I've just built out what I call a service business calculator, which helps me understand what I need to do to achieve the goals that I have. Let's have one brave soul who would like to be involved in this. As long as you operate as a pure service business, okay, and you provide services, you can be a volunteer. Who would like to volunteer? Because then as a volunteer, we'll go through it, but that means revealing all your numbers. No pretend, oh, this is what I'm thinking about. Theoretically, let's say my goal is 100. Like, you share your actual numbers. Shelly, you're an image consultant, soft skills trainer, right? Okay.
Yes.
So let's go through this calculator together.
Yes.
Okay. First question, and we have to be very specific with our answers. There's a reason why this is built on Google Sheets. It just wants to talk about numbers. Okay. What is your personal income goal for 2024? I'm not talking about revenue of the business. How much do you want to earn in 2024 through your entrepreneurial activities and through your service business?
30 lakhs.
What's the 30 lakhs? Okay, cool. Okay, let's plug in 30 lakhs. Okay, cool. Next question is what percentage, and for those of you who obviously we'll go through the example together, but I would suggest you build along as opposed to waiting and building later. Okay, so put in your income goal for 2024. Okay, next question. What percentage of revenue do you think you will need to run the business? Okay, the reason why this question exists is because service business owners notoriously feel that there are no costs to running the business except for our time and a Zoom subscription. And that's the mentality with which we operate. A lot of us do this. I say a lot of us because I definitely did this in my first year. I was like, oh, great, no costs ever. But the question exists so that it forces us to change our conversation in our mind. You have to invest money to make money. It doesn't have to be, oh, I need to raise £1 million, but you need to spend money to run the business. So, Shelly, your best guess of what percentage of revenue do you think you need to run the business?
15%.
15?
15. 1
Okay,
5.
cool. Okay, so 15%. Okay. Now, what this does very simply is, now, by the way, for those of you who are not sure what your answer should be, okay, I cannot give you specifics based on your business type, but ballpark, it's got to be somewhere between 10 and 20% at least. Okay, unless your objective is this year is all about revenue and sales, and I don't care if I don't make much profit because it's a year of growth and all of those things, then it can be a much bigger number. Otherwise, 10, 15, 20% is the ballpark you want to operate at. What this does is it tells you, okay, if you want to make this much money and you need to spend this much, your top line revenue is 35 lakhs. So you have to close business worth 35 lakhs to hit your goal of 30 lakhs because you are going to end up spending about 5 lakhs running the business. Okay. So I want everyone to plug in your income goal, percentage of revenue, and this calculation. If y'all can figure out the formula, y'all can go ahead and do it by yourselves. It's basically income divided by 1 minus 0.15 in this case. Okay. So it'll tell you how much revenue you need to earn. Okay, great. So now we know revenue and we know annual expenses. Next up, Shelly, we need to go, okay, I want to know which of these categories you fall into. Do you currently only take on projects, like you do one-off projects with your clients? Do you have monthly or you do only retainers, or do you have a combo?
It's a combination.
Okay, so you have a combo. Okay, so for those of you who have only one, don't worry. The example we go through is basically just adding the two things together, but there is this part of the calculator that you can use, okay, later. Okay, the first question then, if you've got a combination of two methods, is what percentage of our revenue are we aiming, not do we think will happen, are we aiming to get from retainers, and what percentage do we aim to get from projects?
I prefer to have more retainers, but in my case, currently it's the opposite. So currently, if I say it's 20% retainer, 80% projects, and I don't see that changing much in 2024 for myself.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So firstly, I could have guessed most service businesses that have a way to do projects, like that's the normal way to do it. It tends to be 80-20. I would urge anyone who's in that space that eventually you want to get to a place that's 80-20 the other way. So instead of accepting, for example, that it is 20 and 80, what I would make the goal for 2024 at least is there a way for me to get 50% of my revenue from retainers and projects? Remember something very important in this calculator when you're doing the math. At no point is the calculator asking you, how are you going to achieve this? Normally, what we all do in our minds is we bring two questions together. When we're answering the what question, in our minds, we are thinking about the how question. So we're saying, okay, my goal is 50-50, but we're immediately going to, but how will this happen? And this will have to happen, and then this one. But it's very important, if you all want to be creative entrepreneurs, that you focus on the what first, and then we'll figure out the how. So we'll go through the exercises to do the how, but I would recommend making the goal 50-50. Okay.
Can I interrupt? I have a question.
Of course. Yeah.
So my question is the kind of services I provide, it's more on a project basis than a retainer basis. So
Agreed.
does this suggest that somehow I should change my services in terms of getting more retainer clients? Because
yes. So what I would suggest is, if you want to create regular income, projects are fine. If you want to create wealth, retainers are going to be required, because income and wealth are different things. So what it suggests is, if you need to make it 50-50, you do evolve and create a service line offering that is interesting for people to take on a retainer basis. So for example, a website developer very obviously is going to be more projects, but a website developer who also integrates we do website maintenance, plus once every 3 months we'll do an audit and change up at least one page for you depending on what your target audience wants, suddenly you can evolve into a retainer. So this is saying that we should get to a place where we have retainers. Okay, cool. So we'll just run with this example of 50-50. What this tells you is you need to make 17.5 lakhs from retainers and 17.5 lakhs from projects to hit your goal, because you split it down the middle. So let's stick now with projects, because we said that's simpler, for a second. How many projects do you have the capacity to do in 2024? So if you break that down per month, whatever is the easiest number for you to think about, month, week, whatever, how many projects can you do in a year? Do you have the capacity to do?
60 to 70.
60 to 70. Okay, so let's take 60 just because ranges don't do well on a Google Sheet. Okay. So what this calculator is telling you is, to hit your project target of 17.5 lakhs at 60 projects, your deal size needs to be about 30,000.
Exactly my deal size.
Okay. So if you want to hit the project target, it gets you to where you want to go without changing many things in terms of pricing. A question here for those of you who are doing this, follow-up questions to ask yourself are, one, are there smart ways to increase my capacity if capacity is the blocker? Or are there smart ways to increase the deal size so I don't have to hit these many? Because the numbers just help you play around, right? So if the number, for example, was 40, then it would tell you, okay, I've got to figure out how to increase my deal size to 45. Do I think it is harder to get 60 clients at 30 or 45 clients at 45? And so you can start thinking about this and brainstorming this, because it will show you a different direction for your business. Okay. So let's stick with these numbers. Now let's move to retainers. How many clients, if you were doing a retainer for your 20% of retainers at a single point in time, how many clients can you service at the same point in time?
If I'm doing a retainer?
Yeah.
At the same time, around 20.
Okay, 20. And if you are doing a retainer, how many months on average would a client work with you?
8 to 10. So 8.
Okay. So let's say 8. So this is telling you what your average monthly retainer needs to be. Okay. So what this calculator is doing is, it is telling you what is the scoreboard. How many runs do you need to get? How many overs do you have? How many wickets do you have? That's what this scoreboard is telling you. Now, the reason why this is important is because you want to play around with stuff. Okay. So let's assume things are not like Shelly, there's room for flexibility. All of these numbers we can play around with, right? So we could try and say, okay, you know what? But what would happen if I had to stay with the 2080? Well, if I'm at the 2080, okay, and let's say I need to do, that means I need 28 lakhs from projects. But let's say I don't think I want to take on more than 3 projects a month. Okay, that would be 36. Then the question becomes, okay, is there a way for me to create a 75K deal size? Okay, maybe that doesn't work. What if it's 48? 58 can I get to? Well, there are certain people in the market who are doing it at 75. What are the things missing for me to go from 30 to 60? And then it's about choosing the problem you want to solve. I'll say it again. When you do the math, what it gives you at the end, when you play around, is it tells you which problem should I be solving? Should I solve how to get from 30 to 60K? Is that the better problem to solve? Or is the better problem to solve how do I take on 20 clients? Or is the better problem to solve, you know what? I just need to retain them for 12 months instead of 8, and suddenly things change. So it will tell you the mechanics of what is the best case for your business. Think of this exercise as Google Maps for your goals. You are putting in the destination, you're putting in the constraints of your destination. You're telling them how much you're willing to pay on tolls. Then it's telling you, here are the alternative paths to get there. And then at the end of Google Maps, what you do is you say, okay, I picked this path. This is the path I want to try out. I want to try out this 80-20 or 50-50 or whatever it is. And then you do all of your activities in line with that. Okay. Do you have a headline income goal? Do you know how many clients you need to take on at what price? Those are the 3 things, right? Income, total income, number of clients, price. Some you don't have to have it nailed down in stone, but you sort of know the direction you have to head in to get towards your goal. For those of you who don't have it, it always starts with the first one. So if you get none of the others, you have to be clear on what your income goal is. Different ways to think about your income goal. For those of you who have been running businesses and they've been continuous for a while and you just want to continue and grow the thing, depending on the scale you're at, normally people pick something between 1.5 and 3x of their previous year. That's a good place to be in because it forces you to switch some things up, unlearn a little bit, but keep the things that work really well. Please do not end up going, I need to grow by 15%, 10%, 8%. You are not running Infosys right now. Those type of numbers are reserved for the big companies. You're a small business owner, service business owner. You are allowed to dream much bigger with your numbers in terms of multiples. So that's one way to do it. The other way to do it is to have a revenue goal if you've not started at all. Lots of people, what they do is they anchor it to their previous salary. And they say, okay, I was earning, let's say, I don't know, 12 lakhs a year in my previous salary. My goal is to break even on that this year through my freelance business, right? So you can have goals however you want to have them. Just make sure there's a very specific number involved. Please don't have goals like 18 to 26 lakhs. That means nothing. That is not a goal. Okay. A goal is something you know at the end whether you've achieved or not.